Small premium SUVs. They need to combine the style typical of a posh car brand with a sort of toughness and practicality that you just can't get from a regular hatchback.
But which should you choose between the Mercedes GLA, the Audi Q3 or the BMW X1? It's a case of a star versus some rings against a blue propeller. I am of course talking brand logos.
To help you decide which of these three is best for you, I'm going to critique their designs.
It's definitely got the X factor. It's just that I'm more of a Britain's Got Talent kind of guy.
Inspect their cabins.
It does lag behind that of the other two cars.
See how practical they are.
Premium as well as practical. Hell yeah.
And test what they like to drive.
It would be a bit like performing surgery in oven gloves.
So let's start off with some numbers.
The X1 range starts at just over £27,000. The Audi Q3 range kicks off about £1,000 cheaper, whereas the Mercedes is £1,000 cheaper still, with its range starting from just over £25,000. But really what matters is the price you pay. Now if you click up there to go to carwow.co.uk, you can compare offers from dealers and buy at a price you're confident with. And on average, people save £3,600 on a new car at CarWow.
Even with compact SUVs like these, you'd expect them to cope with lugging about plenty of kit and people. So let's look at practicality.
The X1's boot is absolutely massive. I also like the fact that there is no load lip, so I can use it as a seat. You also get some, well, loads actually, of underfloor storage, but my favourite part is this, look. I don't have to lean in to load the seats, I can just press a button and down they go. Yeah, I'm so nonchalant.
The way that the BMW shrugs away suitcases and boxes is pretty casual too. It's got the biggest boot of the three and plenty of space when you fold the rear seats down. So, can the Audi run it close?
So the Q3's boot is smaller than that on the other two cars, but it's still going to be big enough for most people. And I'm going to forgive it because under here there is room for a space-saver spare wheel. I also like the fact that it's got a retractable load cover like a proper SUV. Premium as well as practical. Hell yeah.
Sorry, I got a bit overexcited there. Anyway, with all the seats in place, the Q3 has the smallest boot here, and it doesn't have a 12-volt socket like the other two. Now that I've calmed down a bit, let's move on to the GLA.
This car's boot's actually a pretty decent size, so there's lots of useful features in there as well. So you've got various places to store stuff, tethering points, 12-volt socket. I like the fact you've got a ski hatch as well, there we go. Essential for those alpine holidays. And under here you've got some storage as well, including, Mercedes like to give you these occasionally, it's the special Mercedes collapsible basket. You can keep your kittens in there, I guess.
The GLA's boot opening is slightly bigger than the Q3's and features a 12-volt socket, curry hooks and storage nets, and that makes it more useful. However, it has the smallest load space with all of the seats folded. But which is the best at keeping passengers in the back? First up is the BMW.
This car's really comfy here in the back seat. I mean, there's absolutely loads of room and you can get it with seats that slide. And also, if I can find the lever, there it is, recline. Do you know what? I've no idea why people need something like an X3 or an X5. This is big enough.
What's more, it's really impressive with 3 people in the back. The bench seat is nice and wide and the footwells are massive. And thanks to back doors which open almost to a right angle, fitting a child seat is a breeze too. The door bins can swallow several big bottles and there are loads of little cubbies dotted around elsewhere. Next then, is the turn of the Audi Q3.
The back seats of this Audi are easily up to family life. I mean, I've got enough knee and headroom and people over 6 foot will be fine as well. And kids will like it because the windows are quite large so you do get a good view out.
Load the Q3 up with 3 and the narrower body means that shoulder room is a little tighter than in the X1. It would have been nice if Audi had offered a centre armrest as standard too, and installing a child seat is a little more awkward because the rear doors are quite narrow. On the plus side though, the Q3 is great for storage, especially the enormous front door bins. The GLA does pretty well for storage too, and benefits from a pair of huge cup holders in the front. But what's it like for passengers?
There's definitely enough room for adults here in the back of the GLA. The problem is more the fact that it seems a little bit dark back here. So you've got small windows, these big headrests which are integrated into the seat. They all kind of block the light out. So we're using an internal light to help with this shot. And look what happens when we turn it off. Yeah, you can't really see me now, can you?
Those seats bring other problems too. They're so bulky that there's hardly any space for feet if you're sat in the back. The small doors mean that it's trickier to fit a child seat than in the BMW, but at least the ISOFIX points are dead easy to locate. Overall then, the Mercedes is the worst here for carrying backseat passengers, with the BMW the clear winner. But does the X1 keep up the good work in the front?
I really like the interior of this car. It looks good, it feels good, and I reckon the quality is a cut above the other two. And then there's the infotainment system. I mean, if I said it once, I've said it a million times. BMW does the best infotainment system. The iDrive is brilliant.
The X1's iDrive comes with a 6.5-inch screen as standard, but the Navigation Plus package comes with a higher resolution 8.8-inch display. Whichever you go for, the menus are clearly laid out and it's just a doddle to work out. So how does the Audi compare?
Build quality here inside the Q3 is pretty good. It's just the interior design is starting to feel a little bit on the old side. And then there's this look, the infotainment screen. It's a pop-up version, which I had to do with my own hand. And the infotainment system itself, well, it's got Audi's older MMI system. And if you try the new system in the new A4, you'll find that a little bit slow and basically not as good.
And that's the thing about the Q3. It was a great cabin when it came out in 2012, but these days, it's not a patch on Audi's best efforts or its rivals. Like the BMW, the Mercedes gets one over on the Q3.
The interior of this GLA does feel the most sporty. I like the fact you've got this leatherette on the dash, this red stitching, and these big circular air vents as well. The only problem is that the quality, it does lag behind that of the other two cars. And then there's the infotainment system. So this is the mid-level one with a Garmin sat-nav, and when you compare that to the Google Earth you can get with the Audi and BMW's beautiful system, just seems a little bit on the cheap side. And I don't think the infotainment system here on the Mercedes is quite as easy to use as those in the BMW or the Audi anyway. It's all right though.
But all right isn't good enough against the best that BMW and Audi has to offer. At least the sporty look continues on the outside.
I really like the look of the GLA, especially the back end. I think it just looks smart and sharp. Even the fake exhaust tailpipes, at least they have exhaust actually coming out with them, unlike those on some other cars.
If there's one criticism of the GLA, it's that it isn't much taller than the regular A-Class that it's based on, so some people might not think it's a proper SUV. That isn't a problem though for the X1.
Unlike BMW's other X vehicles, the old X1 didn't look anything like an SUV, but this new one, it really does. It's definitely got the X factor. It's just that I'm more of a Britain's Got Talent kind of guy.
The BMW might not be to everyone's taste, but at least it has presence. The Q3's design is a little older, and Audi has already given it a nip and tuck to try to help it keep up.
As part of a midlife facelift, Audi gave the Q3 a new grille and some snazzy pulsating indicators. Other than that, they didn't change much, and so overall the design is a bit meh.
So that's all the sensible stuff dealt with. Now let's see how these cars compare on the road.
Now when you drive the BMW X1, it does feel very much like a BMW. So the steering's sharp, it handles well, and you feel what's going on. So with the other two cars, it would be a bit like performing surgery in oven gloves, because you have no idea what's going on. Whereas with this, it's more like you're wearing those thin latex gloves like the surgeons actually use, because, yeah, it communicates to you, it talks with you, this car, and as a result, it is a bit more fun to drive, and it is still comfy as well. Now, you're going to need the adaptive dampers, because without them, it can feel a bit bumpy, but if you fit them, you get a comfort mode, which just, well, it glides over bumps. It's really nice. This particular car is the 2-litre diesel xDrive 25D high-performance engine with 6.6 0 to 60 time and 231 horsepower. It's just overkill in a car like this, if you ask me. It is fast, but I'm only getting 39 miles per gallon, so I wouldn't bother with that. I'd go for one of the lower-powered diesels. I'd go for the automatic gearbox, though. It's lovely. 8-speed, auto, very slick. I think it's probably the best overall out of the cars. And yeah, it's a comfy car to travel in. The only problem is you do get quite a lot of tyre roar, but other than that, yeah, visibility is good, so it's dead easy to drive around town, and quite a nice, relaxing car to be in as well.
Some people may complain about the X1's lack of rear-wheel drive, but let's be honest, almost no one who buys one will even notice. And let's face it, it's not something that Audi has ever had anyway.
This Q3 drives like you expect an Audi to, so you know, it's reasonably comfortable, it does everything pretty well, nothing particularly exciting about it, but it's a very easy car to drive around town. You get a good view out, it's quiet at speed, the automatic gearbox is great, so is the manual, and the engine choices are brilliant. I will go for the 1.4 litre turbo petrol engine. You can get it with front wheel drive, save yourself some money. On the whole, really good car. This is the 2-litre diesel, it's pretty fast. It's supposed to be able to do over 50 miles per gallon, but I'm only getting 40. You know, I'm not overly excited by this car, you know, it handles well enough, but who cares? It's very easy and relaxing to drive, and for most people, that's what matters most.
Now, we've already worked out that the Mercedes looks the sportiest, but is it the small SUV of choice for the keen driver once you hit the road?
So the GLA, it's not a bad thing to drive. It's better than the A-Class. You've got that jacked up suspension, so it makes it more comfortable. I don't think it's as good as the BMW or Audi though in terms of comfort, not quite. And it doesn't feel quite as, well, sporty to drive either. I mean, it looks sporty, but there's something about the steering, it just feels a bit odd and woolly and weird, which really doesn't encourage you to throw this car around. One thing I'm also noticing is that you do get quite a lot of tyre roar. It's a bit noisy in here at speed. This engine is actually the 2-litre petrol and it's pretty nippy. Now, most people won't go for this car, they'll go for one of the diesels and they can be quite noisy, unfortunately. But this one, yeah, the reason people won't have it is because it's not that economical. Mercedes says 43 miles per gallon, Trip Computer says less than 30. Oh dear. Now this car is all-wheel drive, but you don't really need it. You can get a front-wheel drive version, save yourself some cash. I would recommend the automatic gearbox though, because it's pretty good at shifting gears, and the manuals in the GLA aren't all that good. Though most cars actually come with four-wheel drive and an automatic gearbox as standard. But that pushes up the price.
So then, where does all that leave us?
In third place is the Mercedes GLA. I mean, for me, it is the most stylish, but it's also the most compromised. In second place is the Audi Q3. I find it the least exciting to look at, but it's still a good all-rounder. And that means that in first place is the BMW X1. It's the most practical, it's the best to drive, and it has the highest quality interior. And that's why it wins this test.
Please like, share and comment on this video and click on our logo to subscribe for more. And click on the video windows to watch the detailed reviews of each car in this test.